Hey, so slight change of plan. Uh, it is raining in New York City today, here in Manhattan. Um, Not supposed to be tomorrow, at least according to the weather downtown. Um, or, excuse me, the weather in Midtown at Times Square. Um, the so that means we are not doing Top of the Rock this evening. Rather, we'll do it tomorrow. But that freed up the evening and was able to go over to TKTS and snag a ticket to Stomp, which is something else, I think, along with Blue Man Group, something else uh, that I have wanted to see for uh, quite some time. Uh, we did go to St. Patrick's Cathedral this morning. It was, to say the least, because we actually went and attended Mass. To say the least, that was very interesting. Something uh, that not used to, growing up Nazarene and then Methodist, and now, now as a Baptist. Uh, Beautiful sight though. Uh, but from there, we did go to the NBC Studios tour. Um, don't watch really any of the shows that we went to, but we got to see um, where they do NBC Nightly News. We got to see um, Late Night with Jimmy Fallon, uh, which used to be the Johnny Carson studio. Right across the hall from it, which they didn't take us into um, because apparently they use uh, his and Jimmy Fallon's studio for storage on Sunday until they have a chance to move everything to permanent storage. But Dr. Oz, his theater was right across. Uh, but they use both those for storage for Saturday Night Live, which we did get to see the studio for Saturday Night Live. Um, Interesting fact, because of the superstition of the creators and crew, um, NBC picked up the show or started the show and expected it to fail in less than a year. Um, it, of course, didn't. But because of that, the first year they rented stadium seats from the same place that uh, the Yankees got their seats. Um, and being a superstitious bunch, uh, they have continued to rent the chairs the stadium seats on a yearly basis ever since. Because they're superstitious that as soon as they pay for them, the show will tank. Say what you will about the quality of the show and the current cast and everything. Um, uh, so I'm trying to think. Nightly News, Jimmy Fallon. Uh, we got to see what they call the Muppet Room, which back during the days of Johnny Carson, Jim Henson and Frank Oz and another of the original Muppeteers actually worked on the uh, the Johnny Carson show. what is he did the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. Yeah. Um, Somebody ain't following the rules. Anyway, he did the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson there from that studio, and one night while waiting around, those three got bored. Again, I can't remember the third guy's name, but Jim Henson, and Frank Oz decided to decorate some pipes, and the pipes actually have like in the same style of the Muppets, characters on them. Each pipe had five or six characters on it. It's three different pipes, so that was, I mean, like you know, hair or accessories and all. I mean, that was cool. Um, then from there we went over to Radio City Music Hall. Got to do the kind of the behind the scenes tour of that. Um, took took a few pictures over there. Got my picture taken with a Rockette. Didn't keep it though because I just don't like the way I look in pictures, and it was kind of an awkward thing anyway. Um, mm, However, did get to do the weather forecast, the made up weather forecast during the NBC Studios tour, and the school on the trip bought the DVD, um, because the instructor Dr. Massey said they do that every time a student gets picked to volunteer. So um, that was an interesting experience because I'm having to, granted, unlike professional meteorologists who or weathermen who know what's going on ahead of time, I had to read a teleprompter and look at my image with the superimposed weather and weather map over it at the same time to make sure I was pointing at the right information. So I had to ad lib a little bit. Didn't follow the prompter exactly. Um, but anyway, back to Rockefeller Center or Radio City. Uh, lot of history in that building. Actually, back in uh, the '70s, they were going to tear it down, and uh, the 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 citizens of New York um, kind of came up against the city and said we've got to make it a historical landmark, and it was actually registered the day before demolition was scheduled to start. Um, so I mean that was quite interesting because in the '70s the Radio City used to show from the time it opened in '32 to the even to today where they primarily just show movie premieres, but Radio City used to show movies just like any regular cinema that you would go to, uh, and that declined in the '70s, and they hadn't yet really started bringing in theatrical acts and musical acts and that kind of stuff. Um, so uh, anyway, so they were having troubles with funding and that kind of stuff, but they had it declared the city folk had it declared a um, historical site and saved it. Um, a lot of the things in Radio City are original. Um, they actually still have the original projectors and several of the original spotlights in there. Um, Even found out that the Rockettes weren't originally the Rockettes. They were originally the St. Louis Rockets, St. Louis Rockets dancers or dance line, um, and it was started in 1925. And the choreographer that started them in 1925 did their choreography up until 1971. Um, but that was quite interesting too. Um, anyway, I actually got several good pictures from that, and then from there, we kind of since we weren't into Top of the Rock tonight, we kind of broke up and did individual thing. Went into just quickly went into the Times Square Visitors Center. I saw the Centennial Ball. It wasn't lit up at this time, but apparently they were having power issues that started yesterday. Um, oh, and a lot of the sites have been under restoration, undergoing restoration. So certain areas were closed off. Uh, but then went from there over to Discovery Times Square to see Human Body Pulse, an interesting exhibit. Glad I got to see it. Was a little bit disturbing because they did show, um, like even the stages of development of babies and all and every from embryo to fetus to yeah, I mean to even infant and newborn, um, as well as different what am I trying to say? Different displays just about the human body. Uh, but that's definitely something I wouldn't take kids to. Although there were, or I certainly wouldn't take my kids to it because I think they'd be freaked out. Although there were some kids in there, and it's Discovery, so it's you know yeah it's science for the whole family essentially. But uh, you just kind of got to know your kids and even know your own sensibilities surrounding that exhibit. Anyway, back at the hotel, taking just a kind of a quick break between all of that and Stomp because I had to bring my camera back anyway. I can't take pictures in Stomp, so figured I would drop my camera off. That way, it's less weight I've got to carry and less chance of getting messed up. Uh, and relax a little bit, and then head out. Uh, and just have some fun. Worn out, but I press on. All I've got to say is it has been a great experience. I'm sure it will continue to be tonight and tomorrow morning. And we're going to try to go to Good Morning America if it's not raining in the morning. Um, but definitely exhausting. Anyway, that's all for now.